Here are the top 7 things that I'm focusing on this year with the goal to create a 7-figure income in 2025. And honestly, the last one is probably the most important, so stick with me. Number 1 is actually the power of a running mate. When I think about having accountability and the ability to accelerate someone's growth, it's usually having the ability to bounce things off one of another. And when you have a power mate or a running mate that you have with you, this is usually someone that might be very, very similar in the journey with you where they're at, or they're most likely should be a little bit ahead of you in the categories that you want to grow in. And I've never really thought about that as something that was super important until a couple of years ago. And then I really started to get into business with different people and realizing that having someone that you can really be there with, that you can grow with, that you can dial in with, right? You can get on a Zoom and make calls together. You can go into the office together, whatever it might be, and actually be there together with somebody, having that person with you side by side, and you can love each other. You can be brothers or sisters or whatever it might be. But when you're looking at the scoreboard every day, when you're looking at the scoreboard every month on the results, you're like, haha, I'm beating you in X, Y, and Z, right? And that's super powerful to create that internal competition with yourself, not just with you, but with someone else, right? Someone else that's got similar vision, similar goal, and they're on a similar trajectory. It doesn't be perfect, but most likely you're going to be in a similar business or a similar industry. And the power of the running mate is so important. Number 2 has got to be literally talking about the journey versus the destination, right? Discovery, when you really think about it, it's like discover which matters more and kind of align it with yourself. So think about this. The destination is that, hey, if I want to get fit, hey, I want to make $1 million this year. Hey, I want to X, Y, and Z, right? It's the objective, it's the destination, and it's the long-term goal. It might be mid or short-term as well. But the thing about it is it's not where you get to, it's who you become along the way. It's that journey of that story. It's the journey of that goal that tends to be super important. And most people miss that. We get really impatient with the fact that, hey, we want to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And so they said, hey, I just got to go get it, which is fine. Take massive action like we've talked about in the past. But here's the thing. The journey of who you become along that route is the most important piece, right? If who you are now, and if you knew what you needed to know to get to the results that you wanted to, you'd already have the results. So the most point is that along the journey, you will meet the people, you will learn the information to get to the destination that you want. But that's why I believe personally that the journey is 100 times more important than the destination. Number 3, and this is something I know this, and I think it's kind of in the sales or personal development industry, but it's something that I've really started to implement very recently, to be really honest with you guys. And it's daily goal reading, right? Learn about how reading your goals every morning and every night help you get motivated and help you stay accountable, right? You say, hey, if I want to make X amount of money this year, or I want to do X amount of results, or I want to lose X amount of weight, or I want to do whatever. Imagine if the first thing you did to your subconscious mind every morning was get up and say, hey, I am blessed and excited about this year that I'm going to make $1 million this year, right? And that's one of the things that I read every single morning, even when I really don't want to. And then at night, maybe it's something you read too. And I'm so blessed and energized and excited that this year I will make $1 million this year. And what you're doing is you think about this. There's a book called The Ant and the Elephant. It's a phenomenal book. And it talks about the fact, if you think about it, your brain is kind of like the ant. Your conscious mind is the ant. It's small, it's very powerful, but it's very minute when you think about it. The subconscious mind is the elephant. And at the end of the day, what's crazy about that, I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say something that was like the conscious mind generates 2,000 neurons or something like that every single day. The subconscious mind is 4 million neurons every single day, right? So think of how powerful it is to train that thing. And when you eat an elephant, how do you do that? Bite by bite, right? So if you can read your goals in the morning and at night before you go into a more subconscious state, right? And when you wake up in the morning, your brain is the most moldable of the day. At the end of the day, it's the last thing. Why does my wife get the most tired after 3 or 4 o'clock beside the fact that she's pregnant? It's because the brain has already exuded so much energy. So at the beginning of the day, that ability to read it is powerful. That's why I do my reading. That's why I do my journaling. That's why I do my devotions. That's why I listen to my audiobooks first thing in the morning, because I know I can help mold my mind moving forward. And then into the day, I don't want all the day's traumas or problems or situations to be what I fall asleep to. I want it to be my goals. So super key, right? Number 4 is going to be building a non-negotiable schedule, right? And I think if you think about the discipline it takes that you need to manage your time and to manage it effectively. Now, I'm not perfect this one by any means, and I don't think honestly anyone is, but the more and more I get into helping other industry professionals and entrepreneurs and people get into the more than mortgage concept and all these things, I realize that most salespeople, most people in entrepreneurship just fly by the seat of their pants. They're just hoping they do enough things, it'll fall together and create the result that they want. But if you think about creating a non-negotiable schedule, right, that means you get up at a certain time. And again, I'm not perfect at this. I'm talking to myself just like you guys. I know these last couple weeks, I have not been getting up at the 4:30 I usually do, but it's getting up at that time, right? It's doing activities, it's reading, it's doing the things that you have to do every single day, right? And again, I think it's super important to follow something, right? I know that at X, Y, and Z time in the morning, I'm usually making this, right? I get down there and my routine is I drink a big glass of water with lemon juice in it. And then I make my coffee. I might have hit the cold plunge, right? There's all these things that are kind of dialing in. And I know that even if I only follow that schedule, freaking 50% of the time, I am still doing way more than everyone else. And if you didn't follow it before and you're doing it 50% of the time now, you're beating the most important person on the planet. And you're actually yourself, right? You're setting that standard and getting to the next phase. This one's crazy. Facing adversity with confidence, right? I think deciding how you will deal with challenges is super important. All right, we did this DOORS framework from Brendon Burchard for business and goal planning. If you don't know what DOORS are, send me a message or listen to my episode about DOORS. But here's the thing. DOORS was talking about, hey, I decided what my goals were this year. Let's use income, for example. I defined I'm going to make $1 million this year. What's the objective? Well, the objective is for me is bringing my wife home. It's making sure she be a full-time mom when she wants to after our baby boy is born. Maybe it's to make sure that all the debt's taken care of. There's X amount of years of savings for our bills taken care of. Like, what is the defined goal for that, right? And so facing adversity, but then it gets to obstacles. And so we're talking about how are we going to face that? Well, what are the obstacles and adversity that you're going to deal with to accomplish X, Y, and Z goal? And I think if you have set the framework in your mind that I'm going to handle adversity this year in the best way possible, I'm going to stay, strong in my faith and my belief in the system, just trust the process. Maybe if something comes up and I'm not going to react to it, I'm going to take a night to think about it this year. I'm going to not be reactive. I'm going to make sure that I'm staying grounded. Like, how are you dealing with the adversity? You have to decide how you're going to deal with that before the adversity happens, or the adversity will surprise you and your body will go into fight or flight, right? And instantaneously, you will most likely react in a way you don't want to, right? So far this year, it's like the 21st of the month of January. The obstacles that we put in line, all the adversity we've had so far this year, not even remotely on that list, right? But I know that I said, hey, I will handle my adversity with integrity. I will handle my adversity with relationships, making sure that they're maintained, like all these things, right? So put that in goal and kind of think about that. Number 6 is make sure you invest in yourself. So I would say dedicate at least an hour every day to some form of personal development, right? Our CEO of one of our companies, it's super crazy about this. Every night, it could be 10 a.m., it could be 2 a.m. He will always listen to about an hour of a podcast, a YouTube video, a training or something before he goes to sleep. That's his goal setting at the end of the day, right? So I think it's important that we put at least an hour aside for us. You could be at the gym, listen to a podcast episode. You could be making coffee, listen to something, right? One of the things that we do every single day is I listen to Growth Day, right? Brendon Burchard has an app and he's got a daily fire. Then he's got a training video or some kind of feedback. It could be Ed Milet. It could be Mel Robbins. It could be somebody. So I always do that. And that's usually about a half hour total. And then I usually listen to 1 or 2 episodes of a podcast throughout the day. So I'm always trying to put something in my brain, right? I try to read 10 pages every day. I'm actually not that great at that, right? So I'm like, okay, well, how do I get it dialed in? So invest in yourself. And just like I said, number 7, I think the most important, hands down. And this isn't to separate someone that doesn't believe what I believe, but I believe that you have to stay spiritually grounded. 100% believe you have to stay spiritually grounded, right? Which is the foundation for really true and lasting success, right? Right now, it's really important. We're actually doing a series at our church and it's a marriage series, right? And so things are coming up. We're talking about things and it's creating this spiritual grounding for my marriage, which I think is super, super important, right? We believe, right? As Christians, I think it's super important that we keep God as the center of everything. And I think of all the stress that you've gone through. Think of the issues that you continue to hit and think of all the other 6. What if you were not the only one that had to go through it? Even if you are the only one that's dealing with it physically. What if you have something that was grounding you, keeping you super, super stable, right? Again, I think we talk about faith over fear, right? Faith is just the opposite of fear, which is fear is false evidence appearing real. And so I think it's super important that you stay spiritually grounded and whatever that means for you. So in 2025, as we talk through these things, like these are 7 of the most important things. And I didn't create these out of thin air. I ripped off and duplicated some of these topics, but I think it's super important that these are 7 things that we talk about all the time. If we really want to unlock the best version of ourselves, we really want to unlock the best year of ourselves. If you followed something in a framework like that, if those were the 7 things that you focused on creating on a day-to-day basis, a week-by-week basis, month-by-month basis, I believe that at the end of the year, we'll look back and realize that 1 degree separator we started on January 1st or January 31st, it doesn't matter, because 6 to 9 to 12 months later, that 1 degree difference you make now will be in a completely different place when you get to that destination, because remember, it's the journey that matters the most. So thanks so much for listening to this one. I just wanted to share a little bit of a thought that I've been having on my own head, because I just realized how important it is that we share the things that we deal with, the things that we go through, and the things that we're able to help people with. And I think that these things are super, super important as you get ready to rock in and just finish out an amazing year.